learn from seeing revenue management conducted on both sides of the fence, so from the big brand versus the small brand position that when you took over Ace?
Yeah, interesting. I'd never worked for a brand before I joined what was then the Crowne Plaza in Shoreditch. And I'm sure Crowne Plaza across the UK and the globe are different. So this is not a representation of Crowne Plaza. But one thing that I always expected when I was taking over an asset with a flag on it was that there would be an element of structure, process, and that the brand would be adding value to the asset. And I think what I very quickly realized at that asset was that the brand had created complacency. So what the Crowne Plaza flag had done to that asset was it had created a real lack of proactivity and urgency in that asset because there was a sense that the brand was what would deliver the success. So really revenue management didn't really exist because they didn't need revenue management because they had the flag. They didn't have proactive sales teams that were out there championing the hotel because they had the flag. And the reason why that was significantly challenged was because of the complacency of the brand, I believe. And what we did was we resourced that asset very, very heavily and started to really proactively look at every single opportunity, which was why we became successful. So in the first year, we grew RevPAR 60%. And that was in a ramp-up year. So it was an extremely successful transition.
Excellent. So moving on from that, so if we turning towards the sort of independent hotel sector for the moment, book direct is a mantra for the independent hotel. Do you think that's sufficient for hotels to hold their own today, or what kind of recommendations could you give to independent hotels from your experience of working with that particular asset?
I think having one phrase that governs your business, I think, is very dangerous because book direct may not always be the most efficient way for someone to book or for you to achieve efficient bottom line. So I don't think you can just say that book direct is the way that you have to do business. I would say that if you're running any business, you have to find the most effective, sustainable way of delivering business that contributes to a strong bottom line. And that might not be book direct sometimes. So I don't think there's any set answer, but I would be worried if a mantra was only book direct, book direct, book direct, because sometimes that may not be the best option.
So if book direct isn't always the best option, there are other competitive influences on hotels at the moment. So for example, Airbnb.
Yep.
Airbnb seems to have captured the essence of that sort of experiential flavour of travelling. Do you think hotels can compete on the same level? Do you see that happening? Or how can they actually start to even begin to give that experiential experience for guests?
So two things. I think the brand hotel naturally goes against community and personality. So I think the way that the brands have governed the whole of the hotel infrastructure has created this sense that hotels are a little bit vanilla. They lack innovation unless it's kind of taking other people's products and putting them into the space. So I think hotel as a phrase has become a little bit uninnovative, and therefore the consumers that want something with personality, as soon as you say hotel, it's going to take away from that experience. I think that those experiences are delivered by human beings, and I think that the only way that you create community is through humans. I don't think that that's delivered by brand. I think that's delivered by humans, and so forth. So therefore, and it's something we did very strongly in Ace, was to really, really make sure that the humans that were delivering every element of that experience were the right human beings. And it's quite a difficult thing to try and strategize because humans are very interesting, challenging machines.
Yeah.
And so, you have to work very, very hard to get the right human beings, but once you get them, they are the ones that deliver community.
Okay. And what sort of strategies did you use to build community when you were working with Ace? What sort of localization strategies did you find worked for you?
Again, simplistically, starting with the right people in the workplace. So working really, really hard on recruitment. When you find the right people, making sure that they find the right people. So doing partnerships, looking at local craftsmen, championing local products. But you only get that by employing the person that's going to look in the right place, because what you find is that as people have become accustomed to what hotel is, they tend to procure, and that's whether that's a relationship, a service, a product, they tend to procure in the way that they knew. So I think there's a sense of, I did it there like that, so when I come here I'll do it like this, I'll use that relationship again. And I think the opportunity and the community come from finding new people and relationships and championing those that are lesser known in the industry. So we did a lot of collaborations with people that most hotels would never think of or believe were possible.
Any examples of those that you can think of?
From anything from, you know, the lady down in Brighton that made a lot of the artwork in the lobby, to the local guy that made the DJ booth. Yeah, we could have got it manufactured. We could have got it manufactured for significantly cheaper, but it wouldn't have the story behind it. That person wouldn't have invited their friends. They wouldn't have invited their friends. There are numerous examples of championing the right individual to the person that we employed to create our coffee shop that was one of the best up-and-coming baristas in the local market.
So huge localisation from that point of view. Okay. So sport plays a huge part in your life. So what lessons from sport can you bring to optimising revenues? Where can we make those join up?
Yeah. It's worth saying I'm not a revenue specialist. I'm sure there are many revenue specialists in this room. One thing that always fascinates me in sport, and I try and use it in running any business, is the essence of marginal gains. So marginal gains is never accepting that we have achieved our best and that there's always an element of improvement that can be expected. So if you believe there is potential there, you will search for it. And I think there's something really to be said in running any business, but also with regards to revenue management, of not accepting that that was the only result that could have happened, but that there was something else better that could have been resulted from certain actions.
Okay. So do you think that you were a challenging GM for your revenue manager?
Ask him, he's over there.
How do you see the revenue management role developing based on your experience, and also the new property that you're going to be, or the new business route that you're taking? What are you looking for in revenue management from now on?
I would want someone questioning every single input. Data becomes, I know you had a session on data before, but data becomes a big part of running a business nowadays. But how many people are questioning what the data sources are, because the data sources will impact the outputs that come out of those formulae. So comp set's a really good example of that. So it's very easy for us to say, well, we beat our comp set, but our comp set isn't necessarily a sense of what the potential is. So I'd use the example of Center Parcs. I very much doubt that Center Parcs has a comp set, but what Center Parcs does every single year is tries to optimize the capacity that they have. So they have 4,000 keys across the UK. I'm sure many people know that. And they deliver 97% at a rate of around about £165. And that would challenge many, many operators in a London environment. And these are all in a place where if they tried to benchmark their ability for their business and the potential of their business against a comp set, the comp set would have said, well, you can only achieve a rate of up to 100 quid in the regions, and you'll probably achieve a 75% occupancy. So I think for me, I would want a revenue manager to be looking at what our potential is based on what we are putting together kind of widely across the business, rather than just saying, well, that's the comp set, we've just got to beat them by 2% or 3%, and then be happy with what we've done.
Okay. So potential, marginal gain, and always questioning.
Yeah.
So beyond those 3 points I've just mentioned, any points of advice for our audience today? Something they can take away with them?
I think kind of what I said, there is always more opportunity. So I'm sure there are people in the audience that aren't in London, but I'm just going to reference London because we are in London today. But the demand in London is phenomenal. There is huge amounts of demand in the market, and probably we're all happy with reaching market levels of occupancy at the end of the year at market levels of rate. But there is so much demand that there has to be the ability to significantly outperform the competitors by doing things in different ways. So for me, there is a huge amount of offline opportunity. So I think there's a reliance now on how are we looking online there, online there, online there, online there. And going back to the human side of Ace, there is a significant opportunity, I think, in kind of traditional human relationships and leveraging the people that work for you, with you, or you build partnerships with, to be able to do offline business that will give you, in a very data-driven society, the edge over others, because that is very hard to quantify. But it's something which, again, if you do it through human beings, is difficult for people to copy as well. Okay. I don't know whether that's making sense, but it does to me. So.
Chris, thank you very much. That was
Not
brilliant.
at all.
Thank you.